Hi, I'm Nathan Kurcsak, the missions pastor at Maranatha Bible Church. This is my lovely and excellent wife, Erica. You may recognize her from playing the piano at the church. And I think there's somebody else around here too, isn't there? Hey, we had some technical difficulties, but we're back. Where did the kids go anyway?
Somewhere around here.
So, hey, we're thankful for God's instructions to husbands and wives. And we want to send a message about marriage and what a biblical marriage is all about. And not because we have figured it all out on our own, but we're thankful that God has given us a gift in Ephesians 5 to give us instruction. And that's actually just a reminder of how God's Word guides us in everything. Our memory verse, one of our memory verses as a church for the Grow Focus through the month of April is Psalm 119, 105, which says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. And so for husbands and wives or those looking to be married in the future, we just want to share this with you.
Yeah, I think during this particular season of all of our lives, it's easier to maybe focus on how we can serve the people that are outside of our family. There's a lot of emphasis on serving your community and serving your neighbors, and we should be doing that because that's God's command to us to love our neighbor. But at the same time, we can sometimes use busyness as an excuse to not deal with some of the hard things that are within the walls of our home. So we just want to encourage you to make sure that you're serving your spouse, serving your children, serving your roommate, whoever might be within the walls of your home right now. I think a lot of us use busyness as an excuse to not deal with hard things. So why not ask God to really enable you during this season to serve the people that are the closest to you right here within your own home.
And so we're blessed, and I really mean that. We love leading the premarital counseling groups at Maranatha, and we really enjoy that. But one of the things we talk about is how God has designed husbands and wives to be different. That's the way He's made us. And so there are different roles, and there's unique instructions, equal in value, of course. But there are different instructions given to husbands, instructions given to wives. So we just want to talk through what those look like. 3 words for husbands, and then 3 words for wives. And we really believe that these will help you. If maybe this extra time together has been a struggle, there's been some conflict or anything like that. If the husbands are doing these 3 things that Ephesians 5 talks about, and if the wives are doing their 3 things, that we're following the roles God's given us, then it'll help. And if we're following God's design, He'll help us work through it. So husbands, you're first. The first word for you, and they all start with the letter L. So the first word for a husband is to be a lover, to love your wife. Ephesians 5 instructs husbands to love their wives as Christ loves the church. And so how did Christ love the church? Well, he came not to be served, but to serve, to give His life away. He was a servant. He sacrificed. He humbly met the needs of people. And so for a husband to love your wife, that means to sacrifice, to serve her, and to think about what she needs. The second L is leader, and that does not mean ordering or commanding. It really means just showing initiative and showing intentionality in your homes and in your relationship with your wife. And so sometimes couples do this thing, and maybe this has happened to you where you have a free night or it's date night or something, and the guy is like, well, what do you want to do tonight? And the girl is saying, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? And it's just, come on, that's lame. I think that men are to step up, they're to lead or to serve, and to show initiative that way, lead in a loving way. So we have leader, we have a lover, we have leader, and then the third L is going to be learner. 1 Peter 3:7 talks about husbands should live with their wives in an understanding way. And so learn all there is to learn about your wife. Just like when you were dating, you'd ask questions. What does she think? What does she like? What encourages her? What's on her mind? What is she going through? Just consider yourself a continual learner and continue to learn about her. So husbands, when you do those things, when you love, when you lead, and when you learn, it makes it possible for your wife to serve in her role as a wife.
So for the wives, we also have 3 words to help us kind of incorporate, encapsulate the things that we want to remember in terms of being a godly wife. The first one is to be a follower, and this carries with it the idea of submission from Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22, where it tells wives to submit to their husbands as unto the Lord. So submission has kind of gotten a bad rap in our culture today, and I think that's because it's really misunderstood. Submission does not mean that the wife becomes a slave. It doesn't mean she's not allowed to give her opinion. It doesn't mean that she's inferior in any way. God has designed many relationships in the world to have somebody who's in charge and somebody who kind of follows the lead of the person who's in charge. That's true in the workplace, and he's made that true in the family as well. So God has chosen for the men to be the ones that are the leaders and for the women to be followers. So again, it doesn't mean that the woman can't give her opinion. And I think if the husband is loving the way that he's supposed to be loving, he's going to ask for her opinion, and he's going to want to know and just make it a team effort when it comes to how to handle things in the family. The second word is to be a fan. So the first is follower, the second is a fan. For some of us, that can be really easy. There's lots of great things that we can do to encourage our husband to be his cheerleader, to be his biggest fan, his biggest supporter. Sometimes there's certain seasons in life where that's harder to do. And I have a very wise mentor who has encouraged me to ask God for specific and creative ideas to meet the needs of your spouse or even your children. So if you're in a difficult season right now, ask God for those creative things that you could do that would show your spouse, your husband, that you really are a fan of him. This kind of gives the idea of respect. Ephesians 5:33 in the Amplified Bible says, "Let the wife see that she respects and reverences her husband, that she notices him, regards him, honors him, prefers him, venerates and esteems him, and loves and admires him exceedingly." And all the husbands are like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So I think another important thing that goes with being a fan is not to put your husband down. A lot of times when we're in public situations, parties, times with friends and family, which we're not really a lot right now, but other times it's easy to just, kind of rip on each other or say funny things that they did that it might be disrespectful. It might not put them in a good light. So just be careful with the things that you say when you're around other people, even family members. It's good to be mindful of that, because you can have a disagreement with your spouse and be talking to a friend or family member about it. Then you go home and you work it out with your spouse, but the other person doesn't know that you worked it out and they're still thinking negatively about your spouse. So just make sure that you're staying positive. And the third one is to be a finisher. And this comes from the Genesis account, where God says that man, even in his perfect state in the Garden of Eden, was not complete because somebody's yelling, because he didn't have a suitable helper for him. So, and the idea of helper is not like, when I ask my kids, oh, you want to be mommy's little helper? Where, the wife is just this, oh, he doesn't really need me, I'm just here to feel good about myself or something, No, it actually is the same word that God uses in the book of Psalms to talk about God being our helper. So to know that God is our helper, and that's the kind of help that we want to offer to our husbands, kind of makes that role even more important. So again, follower, fan, and finisher.
Yeah. And so we know that this is just a quick summary, but we wanted to send it out just to be an encouragement to husbands and wives that maybe this is a testing time for you, but like she said, it can be an opportunity for you to grow. And so we really believe when there's struggles going on, that a husband would ask himself, am I loving? Am I leading? Am I learning? And for the wives, are they being a follower, fan, and finisher? And so, yeah, if both of you are doing it together, it makes it so much easier for you both to do it, if that makes sense. So we would ask that God will bless the marriages of our church, and that he would bless it, and that we would obey what he's told us in Ephesians 5. So we got to find our kids. It is actually a little too quiet in here. So we'll hope to see you soon.